Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Torah L'chaim with your host, Rabbi Anibal. So happy to be here once again, studying all together. Welcome. Let's see who is here. Welcome to Brenda and David Grossman. Great to have you here. Maria is here as well. Amparo Goldman. Donna Alden Bogdan is here with us. Welcome. And Judy Sharak. So far, I know it's early. It's early in the class, but we have a great class ahead of us. I love this one because we're going to study about Purim, and I don't know if you know that about myself. Purim is my favorite festival. Very little. How can I say it in a way that it will sound nice? Very little burdens on Purim. Well, unless you're planning giving lots of treats around, so then I'll get that will be a little burdensome for some people. But other than that, if you compare, Purim with Pesach, with everything you have to do in Pesach or Sukkot, that you have to get a sukkah and build it, or even the high holidays, and spiritually we can achieve so much in Purim with so little. That is amazing. And I think that's why it's my favorite holiday. It's a holiday that talks to us. We're going to see, hopefully during this class, why I say that. It's the only holiday that it talks to us. People living in the 21st century. All the other festivals, holidays, they seem to be something, or they feel like they are something that happened thousands of years ago, which indeed, it did happen thousands of years ago, but Purim never gets old. Purim talks to our generation. Be patient. We're going to talk about that. Okay? So we are still giving a few more minutes to more people to show up to the party. Meanwhile, if you're watching this class and you didn't say hello in the chat, please say hello. I would like to know that you are there on the other side of the screen. We have some people that they were brave enough to do it, so thank you so much. And we are going to start shortly. Meanwhile, I'm gonna have my coffee. Here it is. I always like to bring my coffee to the class. I don't know, maybe I should have showed up in costume for Purim, right? Too bad. Too bad I didn't think about that in advance. To wear something. I just did a concert a couple of days ago for a group of seniors. So did a Purim concert, and I did go wearing a costume. And I should have done the same for you guys. Sorry. But I am going to be wearing a costume next week when we are going to be reading the Megillah at Temple Shalom. So if you have a chance to come in person, don't miss that one. I know many of you, they like the online thing. Many of you, they have no other option. But if you can, do your best to come to this one because it's going to be a spectacular Megillah reading. Traditional. We're not going to skip anything. Traditional Megillah reading next Monday evening. Temple Shalom, and then again 7:30 a.m. on Tuesday, if you want to do that. But you know us, we are going to stream it anyway. So if you cannot make it, don't worry, don't freak out. It's going to be there online as well, so you can follow it from home and fulfill the mitzvah of listening to the Megillah. Okay, so don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I know that some of our regulars are not here. Wondering if they're busy or what's going on. I will one more minute, couple more sips of coffee, and we are going to start studying about Purim. If you're doing anything specific for Purim, let me know in the chat. I want to know. Ruvain is here. Welcome. I want to know what you guys are going to do for Purim. I already told you what I'm going to do, right? So, let's begin studying about this wonderful holiday of Purim. Let me remove the code because now we cannot see anything. Hi, there you go. So when do we celebrate Purim? Well, Purim is celebrated on the 14th day of the month of Adar. That is from dawn to nightfall, starting on Monday, March 6th, in the evening, of course, 2023. Now, just remember, it's not this year, but whenever it happens, in a Jewish leap year, where we have 2 months of Adar, Purim is celebrated in Adar 2, Adar Sheini, in the second month of Adar. That is always confusing. And I have to say, hello, Harvey Garfinkel. Welcome to the class. I have to say that they think of having 2 months of Adar sometimes is confusing, even to Costco, when they start bringing things for Passover too early, because they don't realize that they are 2 months of Adar. It's so funny when it happens, because whenever we have 2 months of Adar, Passover is almost a month late. It's funny always to see some grocery stores bringing Pesach stuff too early because nobody told them that they are 2 months of Adar. So anyway, so why do we celebrate Purim on the 14th of Adar? Well, in fact, the question should be why we do the things we do in Purim, because everything that we do in Purim, or almost everything, is mentioned in the book of Esther. Okay, book of Esther in the Bible. Hello, Holly. Welcome to the class. So that's where everything is written, in the book of Esther. That's the Megillah that we actually read on Purim. It's the same book that is in the Bible, the book of Esther. You can go open any Bible and read it from there as well if you want to get familiar with the story. It's a beautiful story, easy to read, easy to follow. You're going to need very minimal guidance to understand what's going on. It reads like a soap opera, so it's easy to understand. So, but in the book of Esther, chapter 9, verses 20 to 22, we read, Mordecai, one of the heroes, right, of the story, recorded these events and sent letters to all the Jews in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both near and far. Okay, provinces of King Ahasuerus, that is in Persia. That is to be in Persia. So, instructing them to observe the, drum rolls, 14th day of the month of Adar, and the 15th day. By the way, 15th day is celebrated only in a few cities. It has to be a walled city, like the way the city with everything, the whole story of Esther happened, right? It was a walled city, the city of Shushan. So if you happen to live in a walled city, the tradition is to celebrate an extra day on the 15th of Adar, and that is called Shushan Purim. So, for example, if you live in Israel, if you live in the old city of Jerusalem, which is walled, then you have to observe also the Shushan Purim observance on the day after, okay, the 15th day. So why do we do that? Let's continue verse 22. To commemorate the days on which the Jews obtained rest from their enemies, and the month and the month which for them was turned from sorrow into gladness, and from mourning into a holiday. They were to make them days of celebrating and rejoicing, sending portions to each other and giving gifts to the poor. So you can see there, right out of the bat, many of the things that we do in Purim these days, like the date and everything. And it's funny that it even mentions that it should be a whole month of celebration, right? It says that, verse 22, to commemorate the days on which the Jews obtained rest from their enemies, and the month which for them was turned from sorrow into gladness. That's why we always say and we sing, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. When the month of Adar starts, we increase our joy. Why the whole month of Adar? Again, because it's written in the book of Esther. It says there, verse 22, and the month Adar, which for them was turned from sorrow into gladness, from mourning into a holiday. That's why we say Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Be Simcha. And you know that we sing this usually. It goes like this. Let's see if I can play it. משנכנס אדר, משנכנס אדר, משנכנס אדר מרבים בשמחה, משנכנס אדר מרבים בשמחה. That's one way. That's one way to sing those words. Mishenichnas Adar Marvim Besimcha. When the month of Adar begins, we increase our joy. And why we do that? Esther 9, chapter 9, verse 22 said so. And that's why we believe that we should be increasing our joy during the month of Adar. Okay? But there is another thing that we do during the month of Adar. And and this is the funny thing, because I've noticed in many synagogues that people learn about this during Purim, and then once you learn it, it's too late, right? So that's why I wanted to teach it to you right now. I'm talking about the tradition of the half shekel. The tradition of the... Donna, you said, can we wear costume on Monday at the synagogue? Yes, you have to. You have to. I'm going to be talking about that later in the class, okay? I'm going to go one by one all the things we do for Purim, okay? So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. But I wanted to talk about the half shekel because this happens before Purim. There are three things that happen before Purim. Increasing the joy during Adar, the half shekel, and the fast of Esther, okay? So let's go in order. Already talked about... increasing the joy during Adar. Let's talk now about the half shekel. Now, on the eve of Purim, and actually, I should correct myself, is until the eve of Purim. So you have from the beginning of the month of Adar up to the eve of Purim, okay, to do this of the half shekel. So there is a custom to donate money to the synagogue, okay? So this is charity, but it's not given to the poor. This one is specifically given to the synagogue. This is going to be another donation that we do during Purim, that one goes directly to a poor person. But this one, half shekel, is something that we do to the synagogue. So, I go again. There is a custom to donate money to the synagogue, a commemoration of the half shekel, donated annually to the temple treasury during the month of Adar. We make three donations because in the Torah portion dealing with the half shekel, Exodus chapter 30, verses 11 to 16, the word terumah, offering or donation, appears three times. And I put right there, you can see it, it's a photo of an archaeological finding of how was the real half shekel that we used to use at the times of the temple. It was a real thing. People needed to get a coin of the half shekel to donate to the temple. Okay? We don't have the temple anymore. So this is kind of a tradition that the rabbis decided to keep alive to remember what used to happen. And it's a beautiful thing to have at least once a year where we make a donation to the synagogues. Because remember, the half shekel was brought to the temple, and it was that money, that silver, used to be used to like for operational things back in the day. They needed resources to keep the temple going, and one way was this. Back in the day, again, it was mandatory. The donation of the half shekel in these days is more like a tradition, but it's still a beautiful thing to do. Okay, so. Once again, back in the day, it used to be half shekel. In these days, because it's traditional, what we do is we bring three half shekels. In other words, we make a donation of 1.5 shekel to the synagogue. Why? Because the word donation in the section of the Torah that deals with the half shekel, the word donation appears 3 times. That's why, okay? Remember, you want to do it, you have to do 1.5 shekel. So the other thing you have to be careful if you make the donation is you never call it the half shekel. Okay? So you can't go to the synagogue and I said, hello, good afternoon. I would like to bring my donation of the half shekel. Right? It's problematic. if you do that. Let me explain, and I will read here. The expert in Jewish law explained that nowadays one should be careful not to call this donation the half shekel, rather in commemoration of the half shekel. So in other words, you go to synagogue and say, good afternoon, I'm coming here to make my donation in commemoration of the half shekel. And the person at the shul will look at you and say, the what? Nobody's actually too familiar with this, which is interesting. But if you go, you have to say this is in commemoration of the half shekel. Never to say this is my half shekel, in commemoration of the half shekel. Why? But if one would call it the former, if you call it the donation of the half shekel, this money becomes consecrated to the holy temple of Jerusalem that doesn't exist anymore, and thus be prohibited to benefit from it. Okay? So, thereby prohibiting the synagogue any benefit of that money. What did I wrote there? I messed it up. But you understand what I'm trying to say here, okay? You go and you should never say this is my half shekel. If you make a donation, you have to say this is in commemoration. Half shekel, and then the synagogue can do whatever they want with that money. Otherwise, they will have to keep it safe until the temple gets rebuilt, and then that money has to be sent to Jerusalem. Now, I don't know if you are already wondering, I was when I read that, is okay, I have to donate 1.5 shekel. How the shekel doesn't exist anymore, because the shekel that we have in Israel right now is called the new shekel, and even though it's an homonym, same name, different thing. The state of Israel adopted the new shekel, the word shekel, because that used to be the currency we used to use in temple times, but it's a totally different currency. So 1.5 shekel in Israel right now does not equal 1.5 shekel back in the temple. So how do we calculate 1.5 shekels in these days? This is the formula, okay? Listen to this. What is the amount one should donate in commemoration of the half shekel? The actual half shekel coin amounted to the weight of 9 grams of pure silver. Okay, so we at least we have that information. It was 9 grams of pure silver. Okay, so keep that in mind for a minute. That's what you have to donate, 9 grams of pure silver. And it's interesting because the rabbi said women must also donate money in commemoration of the half shekel, and it's proper for one to donate this amount for one small children as well. Okay, so if you have, let's say that you live in a household that is 2 adults and 2 children, so you have to calculate 1.5 shekel per each one of the people in the household, right? So it's 6 shekel in total. Shekel as calculated here. Each shekel is 9 grams of pure silver. Okay? And even though, and this rabbi will say some have the custom to donate this amount for the unborn babies as well. So if somebody had a miscarriage of everything, you calculate that and you make a donation also to the synagogue. It's very interesting. And you can tell this ruling was written in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it's very old. It's a very old tradition that we have. Okay, let me teach you now how to calculate your donation if you want to fulfill this mitzvah. It goes like this. The way to calculate this sum is as follows. A troy ounce of silver. I hope bear with me. I actually did my homework. I went and calculated everything. I used my calculator to give you the exact numbers. Okay? So yeah, I was that crazy to do that, but it's all for your benefit, guys. So I can teach you this in the proper way. So the way to calculate this sum is as follows. A troy ounce of silver consists of 31.1 grams. Okay? Because if you the way it's traded, silver, it goes by troy ounce, which is not the ounce that we use for other purposes. Okay? So 1 troy ounce is actually 31.1 grams. Okay. So thus the price of 1 troy ounce of silver is $20.76 US dollar on March 2nd. I did this morning. Okay? I did all the calculation. Now, that must be divided by 31.1 and then multiplied by 9 in order to find the updated price of 9 grams of silver, which is a value of actual half shekel from the temple times. And that is, the half shekel of temple times was equals or $6 or around 8.16 Canadian dollars today. Okay, so if you're connecting from the United States, way easier, $6 for every half shekel. And if you are in Canada, today is 8.16 Canadian dollars. So right there you have it. 6 times 3 is 18 or 24.49 Canadian dollars. So in other words, in United States, you donate $18, and in Canada, you donate $25 per person. Okay, 25 Canadian dollars equals 3 half shekels. Okay, is that clear? If you have any questions, let me know in the chat, and I would like to be able to answer any questions you may have. Okay, now, in any case, and I want to make this clear, what I explained up to this point is the best way, the more stringent way to fulfill the mitzvah, to fulfill the commandment of the commemoration of the half shekel. But in any case, the minimum amount of the donation for the commemoration of the half shekel is the value of a coin, which is a half of the local currency. For some rabbis, that's also valid. So in Canada, there will be a $50 coin, but even though we don't have $50, $50 is half of the currency, right? And the donation should equal 50 cents plus 3, which is 1.5 Canadian dollars. In the United States, probably the same, is 1.5 US dollar. That will be the minimum according to the rabbis. But in Judaism, we always aim to beautify the mitzvah, so we try to do it the best possible way if we can afford it, and that's what I want to tell you. And again, many people, the first time they hear about this tradition of the half shekel is in the synagogue when they come for Purim, and it's already late. It's gone. You have to do it before Purim. So that's why I wanted to use this classroom to let you know about this a little bit of an unknown tradition that we have for Purim. Any questions? I see the chat is very quiet. I hope you are still there. I hope you're still there. I would like to hear from you. Okay? No questions? Okay, so let's continue studying about what we do on Purim, okay? You can donate on Monday, yeah. You can do it any time during Adar up to the beginning of Purim. Technically, it could be at any time of Adar, actually. But the tradition is to do it before Purim starts. Because, as I mentioned before, we sing Mishenichnas Adar Marvim Simcha. When Adar begins, we increase our joy. And the rabbis explained that every time that we give tzedakah, that increases our joy, the joy of giving, right? That's why it's one way to do something joyful before Purim to fulfill the commandment of increasing our joy during the month of Adar. And that's why, but yes, of course. Great. Let's continue now with more things that we do now. The last thing we do before Purim is the Fast of Esther. Fast of Esther. That is going to be this coming Monday all day, okay, until dark. So you start fasting as soon as when you wake up in the morning, right? And then you stop fasting once it's dark, usually after the reading of the Megillah. It's called the Fast of Esther. And why do we do that? Listen to this. This is from the book of Esther, chapter 4, verses 15 to 17. Esther had them return this answer to Mordecai. them is his messengers. Go, assemble all the Jews to be found in Shushan, and have them fast for me, neither eating nor drinking for 3 days, night and day. Also, I and the girls attending me will fast the same way. Then I will go into the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. Then Mordecai went his way and did everything Esther had ordered him to do. In other words, there was I don't know how familiar you all are with the story of Purim. Hopefully you're going to be more familiar after you listen to the Megillah on Monday. But for now, what you have to understand, what you have to remember, and in the book of Esther, we are talking about at least 4 main characters. And that is King Ahasuerus, okay, the king of Persia, Haman, his viceroy, or the right hand of the king. Haman was an Amalekite, the descendants of Amalek. So he was an anti-Semite. Okay? And then we have Mordecai and Esther. Mordecai and Esther were Jews. Ahasuerus and Haman were not. Okay? Okay? So, what happened here is Haman wanted to destroy all the Jews of the kingdom. Now, funny thing is, Esther, a Jewess, she married King Ahasuerus, but following Mordecai's advice, she never told anyone she was Jewish. Okay? So Ahasuerus didn't know that he married a Jew. So, and now Haman wants to destroy the people of Israel, and by doing that, he is about to also destroy the queen of Persia. So Mordecai said to Esther, go and tell the king. Now you can go and tell him that you're Jewish. Go. And then Esther said, sure, I can do that, but it's a little problem. The king didn't call me. And it is against the law to go see the king unsummoned. He had to call me first. If I go and he didn't call me first, the law says that I had to be put to death unless he raises his golden scepter. Which he did, by the way. He did. But he was afraid. So Esther said to Mordecai, I will do what you are asking me. I will go and talk to the king. But there is one thing that I'm asking from you in return. You and everybody in Shushan should fast for me. Of course, in the book of Esther, say that they fasted for 3 days. In these days, we do it just for half a day, from the morning to the evening. Okay? It's symbolic. It's symbolic. But remember, back in the day, 3 days, we believe that Esther asked them to fast as a way to pray to God for her. Even though it's funny, because she doesn't say, go fast and pray for me. It just said, go and fast. There are many things, or everything that is related to God in this book is missing. We're going to talk about that as well. The name of God is not mentioned in the book of Esther. Be aware of that. Be aware of that. Okay? So that's why we fast. Before Purim, the same thing that Esther and every other Jew in Persia did at that time. And we believe that that fast was the prelude of their salvation. So we also fast before Purim, hopefully as the prelude of our salvation. Okay? And the other thing that is interesting is that we fast, even though it's shorter, but it's like Yom Kippur as well, right? That we fast. And both Purim and Yom Kippur. In fact, Yom Kippur is not the real name. Yom Kippur it's called Yom HaKippurim. Kippurim. Even the name Purim is included in Yom Kippur. It's Yom HaKippurim. I know Kippur comes from the word kapara, which means atonement. But the word Kippurim in Hebrew could also be read as Ki Purim, like Purim. Have you ever noticed that? Yom HaKippurim means the day that is like Purim. Why is that? There is lots of hidden messages in Purim, my friends. Lots of hidden messages. In fact, the name Esther means hidden. And God is hidden in the Megillah because the name of God is not there. But it doesn't mean that God is not there. Just the name is not there. But when you read the book of Esther, you can realize that there is a supernatural hand in control of everything, right? But not in an explicit way. So he's talking a lot about the way we perceive life. And that's what I said at the beginning, that Purim is the closest festival to the way we experience life. Think about that for a minute. Okay, so for now, I already mentioned the three things we do before Purim. Number one, we increase the joy on Adar. Number two, we give a donation to the synagogue in commemoration of the half shekel. Number three, we fast. Okay? After the fast is over, we enter into the festival of Purim. And what do we do? Well, perhaps the most significant thing we do, you can see it there, we read the Megillah. Okay? So, I'm going to read this, and let's try to understand. The scroll of Esther, Megillah, is read on Purim night, Monday, March 6, 2023. And again, the next day in the morning, Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. That's going to be at 7:30 a.m. Central Time at Shari Zedek. We read it in the synagogue because the larger the crowd, the greater publicity is given to the miracle of our being saved. The entire Megillah must be read from a kosher scroll, written with proper ink, parchment, etc. Every word must be clearly heard. Okay? Welcome, Daniel B. Welcome to the class. Let's continue. The custom is to make noise at the mention of Haman's name. So we do boo, boo, or we start beating the table, or we use noisemakers or groggers to make noise. Okay? Why we do that? In keeping with the command to wipe out the remembrance of Amalek. Remember, Haman was an Amalekite. Similarly, the Shabbat before Purim, which is this coming Saturday, this is still old. Forget about this. I will delete it. Otherwise, you're going to be confused, right? It's called Shabbat Zachor because the Maftir portion, last Torah reading, features the command to remember Zecher Amalek. Okay? So you come to synagogue this Saturday. It's going to be a special Shabbat called Shabbat Zachor. And the Torah reader is going to remind us that Amalek is an evil nation. And their mandate is to destroy the Jewish people. So in other words, we have to deal with Amalek before Amalek deals with us. That's pretty much the story in a nutshell. So Haman was an Amalekite. We already know what a perfect example of what Amalekites are willing to do to destroy the Jewish people. So every time we read the name Haman during the Megillah reading, we make noise. Okay? If you have any questions as I go, okay, please type it in the chat. I will try to answer as we learn. Next tradition that we have. Next one is called the Mishloach Manot, sending food to friends. On the day of Purim, on Tuesday, March 7th, we send 2 items of food. At least 2 items of food. I know some people like to make big baskets, right? So, yeah. And like it's like every commandment in Judaism, the more, the better. It's always better to beautify the mitzvah. Okay, same what I mentioned with the half shekel. I gave you the minimum, but then there is no limit of how much more you can give, right? But this is the same. You have to at least 2 items of food to at least 1 person. Okay, you send like a little baggie with food to 1 person. You fulfill with the mitzvah with the minimum, with the minimum of the mitzvah. It is preferable to send ready-to-eat foods or drinks. The food should be of a respectable quantity according to the standards of the sender and recipients. And this is something that I learned recently. Like, for example, if you live in a Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn in the United States, you will see that they have a different way of doing it, and there are certain expectations of how much food to send or to receive. Different communities, they develop different traditions, so there is an expectation sometimes. There is an expectation. Here in Winnipeg, by the way, if you ever want to do it, you never done it, I will try it anyway, there is no expectation whatsoever. If you send somebody one hamantashen and one orange, for example, one apple, 2 items, one person is totally acceptable and it will be welcomed and people won't be disappointed. But you should know, sometimes, if you go to Israel or things, people have different traditions on how to do it, what to expect and what to send. Okay? So it's something that if you ever move to another community, you always ask. You ask around. What is the expectation for the Mishloach Manot? Okay? Let's continue. The reason for this mitzvah is to ensure that everyone has sufficient food for the Purim feast. More to the point, this increases love and friendship between people, providing an ideal opportunity to embrace our fellow Jews, irrespective of any religious or social differences. After all, Haman did not discriminate among us. For this reason, it is particularly good to give gifts to those who you may have had an argument with, or someone new in the community who needs a new friend. Okay? So, this particular mitzvah, Mishloach Manot, is oriented specifically, at least as a baseline, to a Jew. You know, when I say the minimum is to say 2 things to one person, that person should be a Jew. Above that, you can give this to whoever you want. But this is usually a gift to people who celebrate Purim in some way. Because I realize that there are non-Jewish people that they are very close to Judaism and they celebrate Purim. So yes, you give, if you know such people, is proper to give them food, or to give them to do the Mishloach Manot by sharing things with them. This is specifically designed to be shared with people who celebrate Purim. Okay? Why do I say this? Because there is another mitzvah that is similar, but this is open for everyone, not just for Jews, which is the matanot la'evyonim, the gift to the poor. Okay? Give to the poor. And how do you do this? On the day of Purim, Tuesday, March 7th, it is also a special mitzvah to give money to at least 2 poor people. And this is called matanot la'evyonim. Each poor person should be given at least the amount of food that is usually eaten at a regular meal, or the amount of money required to buy this. You follow? Okay? If you do not know who is qualified to receive the gift, then give the money to an authorized charity collector who will distribute the money on Purim for the purpose of fulfilling this mitzvah. There are some places, some communities that they organize this, but basically all you have to do, go out. I don't know. I know we have people living in different places in the world, right, that connect to this class. But you will know where are poor people in your community. Just reach out to them, handle them money with the intention of fulfilling this mitzvah. Why do I say that? Because this also has some parameters on how to fulfill it. I will continue. It is better to spend more on gift to the poor, matanot la'evyonim, than on mishloach manot. Okay, so if you run out of money by making food for your friends and then you have no money to give to the poor, then the rabbi said that there is a problem. You always have to be sure that you are fulfilling this one as well, okay? Even if that means that you have to scale down how much food you prepare for your friends. So, there is no greater joy than gladdening the hearts of orphans, widows, and poor people. The Jewish people are one unit. We can't possibly enjoy the holidays if poor people don't have enough. Okay? So, And remember, and I don't think if I read that at the top, each poor person should be given at least the amount of food that is usually eaten at a regular meal, or the amount of money required to buy this. So if you're giving money, what you have to do is you calculate how much is usually a meal in, let's say, a fast food restaurant. Okay? How much? $15. So I know that it's usually more than what people will give to a beggar in a corner, but for the sake of fulfilling the mitzvah of Purim, during the day of Purim, you go out and you handle $15, $20 to a poor person. You should see how happy they are going to be, right? And this is also part of making other people happy, even if it's for a moment, during Purim, because we want everybody's joy to increase during the month of Adar. But remember, this is a specific thing that you do during the day of Purim, because we are in the middle of reading the Megillah and dancing and singing and drinking and eating. So we go out and share with somebody else during the day as part of the experience of Purim. And this is called Matanot La'evyonim, and it's very important to do. So this is not money you give to the synagogue, remember. That was the half shekel. This is something that you specifically go look for a poor person to fulfill this mitzvah. Any questions? Just type it in the chat. Okay, let's continue. Now, this is very interesting. The Purim meal. The day's grand finale is the festive meal. The Purim Seudah feast should begin during the daytime on Tuesday, March 7th, and extend until after dark. And I say this is interesting because it's all the opposite of the way we have our festive meals for all the other holidays. We always have the festive meals before the holiday, right? And in Purim, we have it at the end. It's different. It's a totally different concept, okay? That's the way, that's the way the tradition came to us. Now, there is another tradition this is always like a... Some people are like, really? Do we have to do that? No, you don't have to, but let me explain. There is a tradition of the Atloyada, until one no longer knows. Have you ever heard about this one? It's in the Talmud. Rava said, a man must become so intoxicated on Purim that he cannot tell the difference between cursed be Haman, the bad guy, and blessed be Mordechai, the good guy. Very interesting. So that's why you may have heard the tradition of getting drunk on Purim. It's called Adloyada. Basically, I put it as one word because that's the way people know it, but it's Ad Lo Yada. 3 different words. Ad Lo Yada, until you don't know. Talking about the drinking. Now, remember, this was a big deal during the time of the Talmud, when society was very different. Number one, remember, they didn't have hard liquors. They didn't have whiskey or anything like that back then. So most alcoholic beverages were what they would call beer, which means fermented things, or worst case scenario was wine. Which, by the way, I was understood back in the day, it wasn't as strong as it is in these days. It was diluted. But also the chances to create an accident if you were tipsy or drunk were way different than they are today, when most people will drive cars or take stairs up and down. So it's a very different kind of society. So we are very careful on how we fulfill this. We don't have to get intoxicated. If you want to drink a little bit to feel a little tipsy, that's it. But no beyond that. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it because we recognize the dangers. And in Judaism, we all will always believe that life is the most important thing. And if you recognize that by fulfilling this mitzvah, you're putting yourself or somebody else at risk, then you should not do it. Any questions about that? Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever seen anybody who actually observed the Adloyada? I would like to know. Okay, The next thing, Donna, I'm going to answer now when you ask at 12:13 p.m. I'm sorry it took this long to answer that. You were talking about the costumes, right? It's the masquerading. It's a big thing on Purim. Traditionally used to be to cover their faces. These days it evolved into wearing a costume. Okay? But this is what it is. So, why do we do that? One of the interpretations is this is a way of emulating God, who disguised his presence behind the natural events described in the Purim story, and has remained concealed yet ever present in Jewish history since the times of the destruction of the first temple. Since charity is a central feature of the day, when givers and receivers disguise themselves, this allowed greater anonymity, thus preserving the dignity of the recipient, for example. Persian exile throughout the Purim story, and since hides behind, alludes to hidden aspects of the miracle of Purim, which was disguised but by natural events. Okay? So this is interesting. Name of God is not there. Esther was hidden in the palace. Nobody knew that she was Jewish. Haman tried to destroy the Jewish people. In order to do that, he created a lottery to decide when the destruction was going to happen. And that's why, by the way, guys, the holiday is called Purim. Purim means lotteries. Pur means lot. Purim, plural, lotteries. Because Haman did it that way, and sometimes it was the belief that it was a random number, but in Judaism we believe that nothing is random. So a lottery may look like it's a random thing, but it's not. God is always in control of everything. That's why, for example, when the Jewish people needed to divide the land of Israel among the tribes, they conducted a lottery assigning one portion of land to one tribe. And that was understood that the lottery was used for us to know God's will. So we Jews believe that even the lottery, something that some people will say is the ultimate random thing, a lottery, for us is not random at all. Everything is under God's control. So remember, Book of Esther, everything is hidden. Everything is hidden. That's why we wear a costume, to hide ourselves. Okay? So yes, people come in costume to the synagogue to listen to the Megillah. Oh, thank you, Judy. Have a wonderful day. We are almost 10 minutes away from the end anyway. So, the other thing, the one that everybody was looking for and waiting for. What do we eat on Purim? Traditional foods. Okay? Can you see that? Traditional food there. On Purim, Donna, you said it's on Monday or Tuesday? Both. We start wearing the costume when we come to the service for the Megillah in the evening, but then if you come back in the morning, also costume. Yeah. Ruvain, for example, lots in the book of Jonah. Yeah. You see, they even the people were not Jewish, but they still had, even those people, they had the belief that the lottery will express the God's will. Right? That's why the book of Jonah, the crew of the boat, they casted lots to see who was the one bringing a curse among the ship. And that they use a lottery for that. Yeah. Good one, Ruvain. Love it. Yes, perfect example on how we had the belief that the lottery represents God's will. Now, on Purim, triangular pastry is called hamantashen, poppy seeds pockets. That's what it means, guys. Hamantashen doesn't mean Haman's hat or Haman's ears or anything. Hamantashen means poppy seed pockets. In Hebrew, it's called oznei Haman, Haman's ears. I don't know why the ears. I doubt the guy had triangular ears, and even if he did, why will we eat them? Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, that's the way it's called in Israel, Oznei Haman. We call it hamantashen. A sweet pastry dough is rolled out, cut into circles, and traditionally filled with prune or poppy seed filling, then wrapped up into a triangular shape with the filling either hidden or showing. I was told that at the beginning the filling was completely hidden because it was one more thing to represent the Purim spirits, where everything is hidden, right? So just remember that. Just remember that. And yeah, that's basically the only thing that is traditional that we eat on Purim. Way simpler than any other holiday, right? Way simpler. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the hidden message of the book of Esther. The hidden concept where everything is hidden. Why is that? Well, let's start with the name of Esther. The name of Esther. Esther means hidden. In Hebrew, the verb to say to hide is lehastir. And you can already hear how it sounds like Esther, lehastir. Right? And she was the hidden Jew in the palace. The hidden queen. She's very interesting. But at the same time, the name of God is hidden in this book. But God, let me remind you all, already promised through a prophecy that God communicated to Moses. God promised that the Jewish people were going to sin and transgress and forget God's laws, the mitzvot. They're going to forget the mitzvot. And when that happens, God is going to hide his face. God is going to be hidden. And this is the time when the book of Esther happened, that it was during the exile, and that was when the people of Israel were exiled from the land of Israel, and the temple was destroyed, according to the Talmud, because of their sins, because of their transgressions. And after they were exiled, God hid his face. So we are reading now the book of Esther, which actually happened during the times of God hiding his face. By the way, we are also living such times. And that's why I say that this festival speaks to us, because we are a continuation of that. We are also living in exile. We're also living times where God is hidden his face. We don't see miracles in the same way that we read about them during Pesach, for example. That's why Pesach and Purim are two different coins, two different sides of the same coin. Pesach, everything is supernatural. Purim, everything is natural. But it doesn't mean that God is not there. It just means that God is hidden. And like everything that is hidden, if you know where to look for, you're going to find it. Hidden is only hidden for people who don't know where to look. Right? Never forget that. And we believe, we as Jews, we do know where to look. We do know that God is in nature, that God is in everything we do. So yeah, for many people, they may go through life experiencing a godless life because they cannot see God, but we can appreciate that God is hidden and that we know where to look for it, where to look for God. So, look at this. It's mind-blowing. Where is Esther alluded to in the Torah? As it is written in Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 18. Listen to this. God said to Moses, Va'anochi haster panai bayom ha'u al kol hara asher asa ki fana el Elohim acherim. But I will be hiding my face. How does the Torah say hiding? Haster, astir. Esther, Esther. I will be hiding my face from them because of all the evil they will have done in turning to other gods. So God already said, I'm going to be hidden. And that's why God is hidden in the book of Esther. Very interesting. Hello, welcome Lee Arthur Solomon. Welcome to the class. Okay. And the other thing that I was going to say, and this is also fantastic, that the rabbis say that all the books of the prophets and all the scriptures will be nullified on the days of the Messiah, except for the book of Esther, which will remain like the 5 books of the Torah and the laws of the oral Torah that will never be nullified. The days of Purim will never be nullified. So basically said, right now, the book of Esther is like its experience as a post-biblical festival. But it said that in the days of the end of the world, all the things for the book of prophets are going to disappear, and Esther and Purim will be upgraded to the same level of Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Okay? It's very, very interesting. And why is that? Why is that? Let me explain. Because the rabbis say that on Purim, the Jews committed themselves to the Torah without any pressure from Moses or from God. Let me explain. You see, there is a beautiful midrash that says, it's midrash based on Exodus 19:17, that there we read, and Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the They stood under the mountain. In reality, it says Tachtit Ha'ar, which means at the foot. It sometimes is translated as the foot of the mountain. This is right before Revelation, okay? When God is about to reveal the Torah to the people of Israel. Exodus says Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood under the mountain. But the Midrash said, okay, why do you say at the foot of the mountain? Let's read it literally. It says under the mountain. Tachtit Ha'ar, under the mountain. Okay? Listen to this. Rav Abdimi ben Hama ben Hassa said, this teaches that the Holy One, blessed be He, overturned the mountain upon them like an inverted cask and said to them, if you accept the Torah, all is well. If not, this shall be your burial place. I'm going to, you know what it means. It's God put the mountains over them and said, if you don't accept the Torah, I will crush you. Okay, I will squish you like a cockroach. So this midrash is trying to explain that the people of Israel kind of accepted the Torah under coercion the first time. So let's continue. Rav Aha ben Yaakov observed, this furnishes a strong protest against the Torah, said Rabbi. Yet even so, they reaccepted the Torah in the day of Achashverosh. That means during Purim. For it is written, the Jews established and received, etc. That's it in the book of Esther, by the way. They established and received. So that means they established and confirmed that they had what they have accepted long before. Back then, it was under coercion. Right now, they accepted the Torah again during Purim out of their own free will. And that's what elevating Purim, at least in Messianic times, to the same level of the 5 books of Moses. Okay? And I have so much more to teach you about Purim. So please come on Monday and Tuesday, and I will keep sharing more midrashim and wonderful information about Purim. Okay? Even though we have to say goodbye today. But I hope you will make a time to fulfill with all these beautiful mitzvot that we have for Purim. And remember, this class is going to be rebroadcast tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. If you miss anything of this, you can also go, after I finish this stream, you can go to our YouTube channel and replay the class there if you want. But if you want to have the live experience, please tune in again at 8 p.m. Central Time, and you can replay it from the beginning. But now, thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, and hope to see you soon. Remember, give us the thumbs up, share this video, subscribe to our channels, and you will be notified every time we go live or every time we upload something to our platforms. Bye now. Happy Purim, everyone.